as well. Yes, please. The gentleman at the end, yes.
How can Israel reconcile its moral and ethics with the occupation and treatment of the Palestinians?
Some of us in the panel thinks that they cannot reconcile. Or let's say that the following thing, that from a moral perspective, the ongoing condition of occupation will at the end undermine the fabric of the moral quality of our life and whom we are as a people. And this is why some of us, not all of us, think that this is a situation that we have to make an effort to put an end to it. That doesn't mean that putting an end to it is very easy, but it means that this moral burden, and Dominique said it's all ethics, right? The undermining of our very basic moral fabric is at stake here. So,
if I could add one thing, Moshe, just to that, and I'm answering in a way. In a transparent world, it becomes more realistic to be moral than was the case before. I think it becomes very naive to be systematically immoral and cynical, precisely because we live in a different world that is so transparent.
So,
you said earlier that there were, Ms. Kruzeba said there were absolutes are not of importance. And then we heard earlier also ethics is everything. My question is, upon what then do you base your morality or your ethics?
if I may try to answer that, my own, maybe we have a difference and we'll open. My own sort of, you would say, moral absolutes do not intentionally harm the innocent. Do not intentionally harm the innocent.
Are you taking on several questions and answering after, or?
No, we try to take it one by one so we can relate. But please, we're going to get to you. Don't worry.
No problem.
I mean, unfortunately, we are not immortal in terms of this session, so we're going to have to put an end to it. But yeah, that will be a way to begin. You know, a way to begin the establishing of a moral sensibility that is powerful. You know, there is a strong presumption, a very powerful, strong presumption against causing harm to an innocent person that we care about, that we. Again, because that person is vulnerable and because we are capable of actually, through our powers, of inflicting harm on people who are vulnerable. So you might say a way of starting, asking something which is above technology, above time, above everything, is that strong, very powerful presumption. That no chip or no genetic trick or whatever can overcome. It will be with us as we are in terms of what I think constitutes the very fabric of the human condition. Yes.
I think if I understood the question correctly, what's the basis for morality? And I once again want to paraphrase John Rawls. In very simple terms, is that you don't do to others what you don't want to be done to you. And the rest can follow and flow from there.
So let's take the next question. You were there at the queue, please.
Yeah, I would like to come back to a question that you have already raised, and I'm wondering why it hasn't been picked up by the panel, which is the issue about women. If you establish a scale of the number of people which are concerned by an issue, the number of women in the world who have no freedom, who are confronted with absolute power and the impossibility of existing or expressing themselves. I believe that the cause of women, definitely, in many areas in the world and in many regimes, is a valuable cause. And I'd like to come back to this question that you, Mr. Albertard, have raised. And I'd like also to add to this question, why wasn't it picked up by the panel? Is it because the suggestion of, I can't remember the name of, I think Yuval, is it because being caught by this vision of a very far future, we don't want to look at a more closer future? But I was wondering about both the answer to the woman's question and why it hasn't been taken on board.
Avishai, please.
Well, I can speak for myself. I think I simply agree with the statement that Albert Tal made, and I disagree with the statement that Harari made. And that's good reason to engage with something that you disagree with, which is bold and interesting. Now, the case of feminism, I believe that the phenomenal success of the feminist movement is because it's the only movement that in the last century that really changed consciousness. All others try to change all sorts of things and disappeared, vanished into the thin air. And I think it's not a full success, it's not even half of the success, but it is still a tremendous success. And I agree that a great deal of what we call now religion in the public sphere has to do with the issue of the women's presence in the public sphere. And here, maybe I'll say something more. There are two basic intuitions. One, let me call one of them religious and one of them secular. Secular morality doesn't ascribe primary importance to sexual morality. Sexual morality is one of the domains of human vulnerabilities, and it is an important domain. And you have to apply to this domain of vulnerability ethics or ethical behavior. Religious intuition is that sexual morality is the core morality, and then you extend to others. That's already in the story of Adam and Eve. Now, I think that what is at stake now, ethically speaking, is really the issue of sexual morality and women in it. And the bid of some of the religion on the public sphere, how and to control the public sphere, is exactly about that. And therefore, the issue of feminism and sexual morality is very much a political issue, a dominant political issue. So you wanted me to comment, I make a comment, but why I related to because it was a very bold and interesting claim, and the implications are enormous. And if in 100 years we'll be a different species, we won't have to even to worry about feminism.
Yes, next question. Yes. Yes, please.
Can you comment on the issue of the migrant situation in Israel, what's been called infiltrators, in terms of the fact that if we treat them really well, the fear is more will come, and if we treat them really bad, the fear is we're treating them really bad, and the moral issues involved in this, and perhaps if there's time, maybe the moral issues regarding the Tal law, in lieu of the reasons why the Tal law was created in the first place, if possible.
The Tal law, the Tal. Anybody wants to talk about this issue? Avishai, maybe.
I talked about borders and a great deal of discussion about macro ethics, how to distribute scarce resources are within boundaries, within states. And we all are worried about how to allocate resources within a state, and the theory of justice is partly about, mainly actually about distribution of scarce resources, the just distribution of scarce resources. But it is very clear that if you are even an Israeli, for a Sudanese or from someone coming from Eritrea and getting into the state and being admitted is the crucial thing, namely the poor of our society is relatively rich in comparison to people in many other parts of the world. After all, billion and a half people live on $2 per day. So obviously the question is, immigration will be the main challenge to my mind in the future of all countries with boundaries. And we don't know how to get it right. Not we in Israel. No country really got its immigration policy right. Some of them had really shameful history, racist history, and we are in a double bind because we, the Jews, know what it means not to be admitted to other countries when people try to get and to get out of Europe and weren't admitted. So the issue is serious. And I think in Israel we try, I think there is a concerted effort not to come with an immigration policy because this brings all the fundamentals and all the basic controversies into the open. It's an open nerve. And therefore, all the things are hush-hush. And there is a deliberate, actually, effort not to discuss the issue of immigration as a policy matter.